So we're going to talk a little bit about parent function, absolute value again. So parent function of absolute value is f of x equals absolute value of x. So how these would compare to the parent function. So remember, inside, if it's subtracted, it's actually going right 5. If we're adding 9 outside, we're going up 9. If it's a negative in front or opposite in front, that's going to reflect over the x-axis. So it's going to be opening downward. This one has two different things. The back number tells me that we're going to go down 2. This front number tells me that I'm going to vertically stretch by 3. So I know it's going to get skinnier. Inside, this tells me it'll be left 6, and this number in front tells me that I'm going to vertically compress. So the slope would be more like 1/4, so it's going to get wider, the V. This one has several things going on. First, it tells me I'm going to go left 7. Then this tells me that it would be down 2. And then the number in front tells me that it would reflect. I am doing a horrible job spelling. Reflect across the x-axis. So that's just kind of a review from what we've been doing the last few days. I like this little comment. The horizontal and vertical shifts describe the vertex. So today we're going to be talking about vertex form, which we've actually been looking at already. F of x equals a, absolute value of x minus h plus k, where hk is the vertex. So one thing that I for sure want to bring up is we notice that this h is positive, so this sign, so really the h is going to be the opposite of what's listed here, which is kind of what we've been doing, like doing the opposite direction of that. And then whatever the k is just goes back here. A is the slope on the right-hand side, so the right-hand side of the like where the absolute value V is, and the opposite of A is the slope on the left-hand side. So we're going to look at some. It says to give the vertex and then graph it. So first, when we look at the vertex, remember it's HK. And so our H value is going to be the opposite of this, so 2, and the K is that value. So we can go ahead and graph that vertex. And then the number in front tells us that our slope on the right-hand side is positive 1. So we just go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And the slope on the left-hand side is the opposite of that, so negative 1. So we can just graph our V from there. Terrible, but you get the idea. Next, we look and we find our vertex. So this is the H, and this is the K, and we notice there's nothing back here. So we do the opposite of this, so negative 5, and the K value is 0. So we have our vertex is negative 5, 0. And then we're going to talk about our slope. So on the right-hand side, it's going to be 3 over 1. On the left-hand side, it would be negative 3. So it's going to go negative 5, 0. And then our slope is going to be pretty steep. And then this way. And there would be our absolute value. And so this one would be vertically stretched. Next, we start getting in our vertex. So our H value is negative 1. Our K value is negative 2. We're going to use this as our slope, so positive 2 over 1. And then the slope on the other side is exactly the opposite, so negative 2 on the other side. And so if that's confusing, you could just mirror, because remember it's mirrored. Number 4, we're going to find our vertex. So it's this So opposite of that, and there's nothing back here, so 6, 0. And so this is very much like what we've been thinking about. We went right, 6, and up and down, none, so we put our vertex. This tells us that our graph is going to be opening downward, or the slope on the right-hand side is -1. So that helps, and then we would mirror this side, or we know the slope on the left side would be +1. Okay, so first we find our vertex. So it's going to be -1, -1. So this is our h, that's our k, so that's how we get our vertex. Then we're going to use this as our slope on the right-hand side, so +2 over 3. Then we would do -2 over 3. And so it's going to be vertical compression on that one, since this number is smaller than 1. On 6, this one I don't have anything for an h, so our vertex h is 0, 7, so that's our vertex. Then we notice it's -3, 4, so we'll go down 3 and over 4, and I could go again. Or, so if I think about the left side, it's actually going to end up with a positive slope. So that is also a vertical compression, and it's reflected across the x-axis. So now we're going to do some piecewise functions. So this top one is a linear function. So I'm going to do it how we've been doing it, by finding an ordered pair. So I use this as my x value. I sub that in. So 4 times -1 is -4. -4 plus 2 is -2. So my y value is -2. So I'm going to go ahead and go plot that, -1, -2. It's going to have an open circle because it is not equal to. So then I look at the slope. So again, it's linear. So I'm going to look at that slope. It's +4 over 1. So normally I would go up 4, right 1, but because this says less than, I can only go towards the left of this dot. So I'm going to go down 4, left 1. So this line is going to go that direction. Then I'm going to look at the bottom part. I could go ahead and use my same tactic of plugging in a -1. If I do that, -1 plus 3 is 2. Absolute value of 2 is 2. -3 times 2 is -6. So that tells me that's an ordered pair on here. Okay, so this is our point, and I have -1, -6. It's closed in. That's not our vertex. Our vertex we know is -3, 0. So -3, 0 is up here, but I'm not graphing that as part of it because it's to the left, and so that's not included since it's got to be greater than this dot. But visually I know if this was my vertex and my slope would be -3 to the right of that, I know my line needs to be coming down. So I could just go from here and I know, well, this is still to the right, so my slope would be down 3 over 1. And so I know it's going this direction. Another option that you could do, you could pick a number that's greater than -1. So you could pick like 0 as your x value and sub it in. So 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 times -3 would be -9. And so that would be about where we plotted that dot. We have another piecewise here. The first one is absolute value here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it, this top one. If I substituted that in, -4, if I put that in, negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. Absolute value would be positive 3, but then this negative out front makes a negative 3 again. Plus 5 is 2. So I know that that is my starting point, and it's going to be solid because it's got that equal to, so negative 4, 2. Now I know it should make a V, and I know technically the vertex of this would be negative 1, 5. So negative 1, 5 would be up here. And I know that that's not part of it, but I know it would be going down and it would have a slope of 1. So just visually thinking, okay, well, it's going this way. I know that this line is going to continue going down with a slope of 1 because this is a negative 1 and I'm on I'm on that track there. So then I'm going to go to this middle section. This is linear. So I think of this like y equals 3. So I know this is going to be a hoy line, but it gives me a range. So I like it when it gives me a range because I can find two ordered pairs and connect those. So negative 4 is going to be one x value and 2 is the other one. So if I put a negative 4 in, I'm going to get 3. If I put a 2 in, I'm going to get 3 because every y value on this line is 3. So I'm going to go negative 4, 3, and it's going to be open circle. And I'm going to go 2, 3, and it's also an open circle. And then I connect those dots. And the reason it's flat, again, is because it's y equals, which is a hoy line, so it has a slope of 0. My last one is also linear. So I'm going to pick the ordered pair 2, comma, and then I'm going to put that in. Negative 2 plus 7 is 5. So I'm going to plot that point 2, 5. And it's going to be closed. And it has a slope of negative 1 because, again, it's just linear. So I could go down 1, right 1. And that is that piecewise function. Last, we have some inequalities, and we do those exactly like we do any other. We're just going to find the vertex. So this would be negative 4, negative 6. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that. So remember, this is my h and my k, and I do the opposite h. That's how I got the vertex. So negative 4, negative 6. That's my vertex. And I know because looking at the front, my slope is positive 1 over 1. So before I just start, I'm just going to put some dots. Before I start drawing a line, I have to look and see if it's going to be solid or dashed. So I can tell that this one should be solid because it has the equal to. So it's just a regular V. Kind of looks like a check mark, so that's fun. But this says less than. So less than means it's going to be below. So it should be shaded below the V. On number 10, first thing I'm going to do is find my vertex. So using the HK, it would be 5, 4. So I'm going to go graph that. Using the slope, on the right, it would be negative 2 over 1. So now it looks like this. So I would mirror that here. Before I draw a line, I go look and see if it should be solid or dashed. So this one should be dashed because it's not equal to. And since it's greater than, it's going to be shaded above. And so that is how we graph using vertex form.